Hello, everyone. How are you? So, how many of you all have either seen a CLEAT experience or are familiar with it? And how many? Okay, that's good. And everyone else, it's the first time. So, I'll also, I know Stefan explained a little bit, but I will say a couple other things about this. Um, it's something where, of course, everyone is familiar with stereo, which is usually two speakers, and we have 16. And of course, the question is, well, why have 16 speakers? And that's basically because it's cool. It's a lot more fun. And on occasion, it can even be slightly hallucinogenic. But it's also just a wonderful way to explore other aspects of audio. And one of the things, I'll talk a little bit about my approach. My background from a musical standpoint is first as a guitarist who was very much into people like Adrian Belew and a lot of other folks who did a lot of very interesting bendy type of bending type of music, and things that really tried to create sounds that were from the soul or from places that there are simply no words for. So a lot of what it is that I have found over my explorative journey into music has been actually the same, kind of thing. I've always just been into really rich sounds and just exploring and seeing where they could go. And actually, I also see it very much as a reflection of how it is that we as human beings, as we grow, we shift, we change, we move in different ways. And I think, especially considering we're currently in an age where people are definitely looking to find ways to express their genuine inner landscapes, that this is a way to also do so, to work with sound that hits us in a place that we don't have words for, but that helps us speak a language that, once again, we don't have words for. So I like really working with with sounds that shift, that change, sounds that cluster, and things along these lines. I'm also a proud member of the Association for these, a proud member of the Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians, AACM, which is an organization which has existed here in Chicago for over 50 years. And I'm glad to be involved with several other sound explorers and people who look at the landscape of emotion and experience and sound as well. So today we are going to experience something that I sincerely hope that you like. And I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna start. We're gonna see what's happening. A lot of this is very much so improvised. There are no audio loops in this particular set, although there are some MIDI things happening here that I'm going to be working with and that type of a thing. But and there's also going to be some improvisational playing of keyboards and various other kinds of expressive forms of instruments that we can talk about later. So that's pretty much it, and we're going to start, and we're going to see what happens, okay?
Jonathan, you're cool with people getting up and walking around, or you want them to stay put?
Absolutely, yes. Everyone should definitely move around. Please, yeah, explore the space. And
It's comfortable.
So, does anyone have any reflections, questions, comments?
What made you decide to set up 16 speakers?
What made us decide to set up the 16 speakers? Well, basically because Stepan was so gracious enough to offer us the opportunity to actually set them up, to bring them out. This is a system that he actually put together. You can speak more to that?
Yeah, I'll speak more to that later. Let's talk about your set.
Okay. Any more questions? Yeah. Okay. Well, it's really interesting. Actually, the way that each of these tracks, each of these that you see up here, are all routed to a different instrument. So way over to the left, if you look here, you will see a number 1. So this is the first track. I routed it to channel number 1, to speaker number 1. And so on. So number 2, 3, 4, 6, because this one just sounded way better coming out of 6, this specific instrument. And it goes on and on. Now, the interesting thing is I do actually have some effects that at different times that I was sending things to, and I was actually sending the drum, for instance, to the return to return B. And so I had this other effect called looperator on here, and I actually had this assigned to channel 16. So kind of going from channel 1 with the drum to channel 16. So each of them, as you see, and this is the other cool thing, in order to actually route each instrument, specifically in Ableton, in different programs it's different, but in Ableton you have to select exit out, or you have to external out instead of master most of the time when you're working with this, So that enables you to go ahead and pick whatever channel you want to. The other really cool thing specifically about this drum here too is there is an effect here, which is a panner, that can actually pan things, that can actually pan whatever's in this channel to any other channel. Well, I'll put it this way: up to 8 channels, because this only does 8 out with this little plugin. Otherwise, would do 16 and everything. But honestly, a lot of it was kind of listening to the different sounds and kind of working with things as they evolved, and deciding what sounded best to me, at least out of which channel, and then also what it is that I did want to move around, because the rhythmic elements here, there's not like a lot of rhythm. It's mostly melodic elements and small things. So I kind of wanted the rhythm to kind of just move around a little bit and have that freedom with that, and then also to kind of manipulate it a little bit with looperator. Mm-hmm. Yes, so the bass channel is channel 17, and so that is actually here. And so, so the bass sound actually is channeled through a patching board back here, which goes straight to the sub. So so that's how I went ahead and did that. And that one, of course, the other thing too actually about the bass is the bass sound that I chose has some interesting kind of morphing properties. So in addition to sending it to that channel, I also sent it to channel 13. So these two here, as you see, bass. So in addition to having it going to the sub, I also had it coming to channel 13, so you could hear some of the other elements of that sound as well. Mm-hmm.
The return track as well is about one single speaker.
Correct. Yeah. Actually, yeah, the returns A and B are both one of them is actually routed to A is routed to channel 10, and then B is routed to channel 16. I really didn't use 10 very much, but rather return A. But I did use B quite often. So 16 is actually the one right above you. So how the actual channels go, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I remember and understand, the furthest speaker to the right there, that's channel 1. Then it goes 2, 3, 4. Next.
Actually, one is here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead.
Yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13, 14, 15, and 16 are the last one. So 16 is right over there by where you are.
Yeah, right underneath. Yes.
I guess I was wondering if you could kind of talk about the improvised element in your music, because I probably would not have picked up on it if you hadn't told me.
Yeah, well, so one aspect of the improvisation is, of course, the arrangement. And the other was indeed some of the keys that I was playing with one of the major with one of the main sounds I was using. Let me see. This is doing anything. Okay, right now not getting anything. But it's probably because it is down. And for some reason, it's still not hearing something. But basically, okay, that's this one. There we go. So the interesting thing is, one of what I'm using is I'm using one of the controllers which I'm using is from a company called Roly Blocks, and the interesting thing is you have a lot of expressiveness with it. So if I can however it is that I'm however hard that I'm hitting the keys, or if I press a note and then apply additional pressure, I have other types of expressiveness that I can do. And these types of things. So I felt this was a particularly flexible kind of sound, and felt that it was particularly expressive. So that's why, for the most part, I chose this one to kind of mess around with. But yes. Exactly.
Yeah, I want to invite everybody. I know it's not that much space back here, but if you want to come take a look at the setup, he does have some pretty awesome synthesizers back here. Controllers.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. So the technology behind that is called MPE, for more expressive, playing and things like this. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with this, like pitch bending and, once again, a lot of it is depending upon how it is you play. And sometimes, like I said, it's easier to get certain types of expressiveness out of the pad, and other times, the keys kind of depends upon how it is. Yes. And the thing is too, there's different modes and different scales, of course, you can also set this up for. So yeah. What else was I gonna say? Other questions? Yes.
Does it normally eat up like 89% of your space? That's a problem I ran into with Ableton.
Yeah, working with this specific CLEAT system, yeah, at home, Not so much. The other thing too is, I'm absolutely insane and crazy where I'm, instead of just using a process calling freeze, where what you do is, you may compose a melody and then you simply tell the program to just go ahead and record this so you're not using all the power from your computer. It basically kind of shuts down the instrument but records, what it is that you played. Instead of doing that, I'm crazy. I was like, okay, you know what? I may want to play this instrument, that instrument, whatever one. And so I decided that I was just going to simply go ahead and try my best to run this live, which of course it is. So every instrument is actually playing everything. Nothing is, recorded, so to put it. Nothing, there's no audio. It's the actual instruments. So yeah. So yeah. So the thing is, you can definitely use fewer instruments, but I just, like I said, the last time I did this was like 2019. I was really anxious to kind of stretch and see what I could really do. Oh.
Yeah, I'm curious, when you work in your animal studio, how many channels you work with there?
Well, usually 2 channels, but the interesting thing is I was messing around this time because I have a different audio interface now, and surprisingly, like it's a 10-channel in, but apparently you can also, I just discovered that you can do 10-channel out as well. I don't know how exactly to get that, but I'm gonna delve into it a little bit more. I'm really hoping that Stephen or someone comes up with like a little 16-channel teeny tiny little speaker where all the like a system which looks like an umbrella, where all the speakers are really small, like about the size of like iPod, like iPods, and you just like pull up this little umbrella. You get 16 channels coming out, and you just go ahead and like something like that, so you can play around with this at home. But honestly, it's just of course getting things together there with 2 channels. I actually have 2 different versions of this project. One is specifically routed for this system, with the CLEAT systems audio drivers, and then I have another one which is just 2 channels. And when I've been able to come here and actually experiment, because actually you can go ahead and book time on Tuesdays, come out here and play around, then you can see how your ideas really play out. But it took me a while to develop, okay, let me see how to do this, and yeah, because previewing is probably the most challenging aspect of this. The other challenging aspect is when you do start messing around with this, you definitely want to have a notepad or any kind of notes app open, because you will get so many ideas and you will be kicking yourself if you forget any of them. You really do have to your brain just goes a million miles a minute and you just get overwhelmed with some really great ideas. So yeah, yes.
What is the patching panel like in-house that's just directly going like channel Ableton to speakers?
Well, most of the time, the regular patching with the house is through this audio board, but this entire system bypasses the normal system that they have here. Does that answer your question, or? Okay.
When you say the system, do you mean like?
Oh, the CLEAT system. The CLEAT system. Well, the interface is really just like the system itself, which is like a different set of drivers, different different audio interface, completely different audio interface than it's got like a little USB cord that just comes straight out. And Stephen, did you build the actual interface?
No, the interface is
It's a Motu, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a 16 in, 16 out device that actually is capable of doing a little more than that if you use the sort of digital patches on it. But yeah, we got it basically just to build into the system. So the outputs from that interface are hardwired
And then the other piece of software, is it Reaper? What are the other, 'cause I think Reaper and Bigwig.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much any piece of software that you use. We've seen people use SuperCollider, Max, Reaper, Ableton. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody bring Pro Tools in here, but you probably could.
I use Logic.
Logic? Okay.
Oh, nice.
Cool, yeah. So anything that can talk to the 16A drivers can use the system.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, BD definitely would, yeah.
And do you have spatialization in the speaker itself?
No, the speakers are each actually just they're kind of basically like a single speaker that just has a really wide dispersion angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all the drivers in one speaker are playing the same sound.
Yeah, one of the other experiments that I want to work with a little bit more is, of course, most instruments that you work with have, two channels, they're stereo. So I'm looking at, spreading out like a wider, stereo separation of each channel, which is something else which I'm going to work towards and learn towards, kind of playing with, and maybe once again shifting those around in different ways also. As I mentioned a little bit earlier with the Sound Panner plugin, that is another Max for Live, type of plugin. There's quite a few different Max for Live type of plugins which are out here, which can be used spatially and everything. So that's something else to definitely dive into. And there's some other 3D audio software and things like that that's out back
Yeah.
there.
Can you talk about your approach to orchestration with 16 channels in your improvisation, like how you think about the space that a sound takes up? Is it just one speaker? Is it really close on the ear? Do you EQ it, put it further in the background or in the sky, I guess?
Mainly, actually, what I do is I use volume in that way, as opposed to EQ as much. It's really interesting too with this system because once again we talked a little bit about previewing, and it's really interesting because when you preview things at home and you bring them in here, as soon as you plug in and turn on the system, one of the things that we definitely recommend is that you bring your volumes down considerably, because otherwise you will just blow out everything. It'll just really so sometimes I use if I want to create additional spatial feelings, I use volume in that way. And honestly, a lot of it's just a lot of testing, a lot of seeing what kinds of things fit together, and what kinds of things emotionally kind of work together and feel right. A lot of times I find that like really small things, really small sounds work very, very well. Like other times when I've come to different CLEAT shows and everything, it's amazing how the smallest thing can affect you, and then when you put so many of them together, it just opens something up. So I really, really, really had to resist a lot of the normal temptation of just going ahead and having straight up chords and and these kinds of things, and just use small things and let them build, and shift. Yes.
Can you set up a timeline and record your improvisations, including the pans and sends and
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I did. I almost forgot to hit the record button, but yes, I did. As a matter of fact, if I hit tab, it is. So this here, the wonderful thing about Ableton, it has like two sort of interfaces. One is a mode where you can like basically go ahead and have a clip play back, which is this, and this other one, which is your traditional type of recording interface. Like if I was recording traditional instruments, I would just go ahead and record them here instead of little snippets. So yes, so I recorded the entire. This is all the MIDI and everything, which I did recorded, which I just performed. So yes. Mm-hmm.
is there a way to record like your automate what you've done?
Well, the interesting thing is this does actually record automation as well. So everything is recorded, even, yes. Yeah, so all the automation, which I did, yeah, the soloing and everything was recorded by Ableton. You can go in there and actually there's other tracks. You can go in and actually tweak that if you wanted to and all that kind of stuff, so yes. Yes.
If I were to do this, and when I do this, can I be in the middle?
As a matter of fact, yes. There have been several
Everybody goes
sets.
to you and Stefan, wherever he's at. Yeah, I'm wondering because I was here, what was it, Saturday night, Stefan?
Mhm.
Everybody was over here.
Yeah.
I'm curious about.
We have a short USB cord back here, and
Right.
all
Yeah,
we
that's why.
need is a long one.
Okay.
And on occasions,
I'm on the case. I'm on the case.
yeah. And on occasion, Stefan has brought a longer one because there's a gentleman, Brother L, who did a set right in the center, and he brought like a carpet for people to lay out on in front. And like also, my profession, one of my professions is also as a filmmaker. So he and I collaborated, and I actually did improvised visuals as he did everything with the CLEAT system and had people laid out in front and all around. And yeah, it's a blast. So you absolutely can do that.
Solutions right here.
Aha.
I actually turned Stefan on to this some months ago. This is a USB extender. It's made by AD Access. Probably one of the very few that actually work.
Nice.
And so you've got an active end and a passive end.
Yeah, it looks like a
All right, and then you use like a Cat 6 or Cat 7. And you just string it across. And it works quite nicely. And you've got four ports at the end. So if
Oh,
you've got
wow.
something you want coming over there, it works well.
Does USB degrade over like 20 feet?
Yes, it does. In fact, that interface is so finicky, don't even try to use any kind of regular extension cables. Especially if you're on a PC, snake eyes.
Wow.
Good enough.
Very good to know.
This is the only solution I've found that works.
Mm.
But,
Yes.
but in short, yes, Kyle, there are ways to do it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, you assigned an instrument to a channel,
Yes.
but could you make an instrument travel across the speakers, like rattle across the room?
You know, we were actually asking about that earlier because I was talking about multi-channel delays. So, like, if you held a gun to my head and asked me to do it right now, what I would do is I would actually duplicate the same sound, and then what I would do is put a delay on each of those channels, and then turn it to a different amount of time, and turn everything off all the way, or rather turn everything all the way to wet, instead of, you know, something where you would have like, where you would hear the original, you know, output. And it would actually do the same thing, and then I'd just simply set up different channels and then boop, 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 boop. But yeah, so that's another thing which I'm really interested in experimenting more with. I'm trying to find a plugin that just does that on its own instead of having to, as we called it, brute force, you know, do that. But yeah, yeah.
You can make a Max for Life patch that does that. And I'm pretty sure that someone in this room has written it already.
Cool.
For what it's worth, I did a Max MSP pack for VR that basically would allow you to drag a sound around it, trying to run 8 speakers of a cubic arrangement.
Yeah.
And the principles are basically the same.
You just treat it as a coordinate system.
Figure out where a point is in space that you can drag around on a 2D interface. You gotta do the math basically, I'm saying, to a speaker, and of course you can record the movement. So that would be another approach to do it.
There are a number of ways to do multi-channel panning, and some of the other folks who will be speaking as part of this workshop series will probably be demonstrating ways of doing that. I know that next week Bill is going to be demonstrating the way that he's using Unity game engine to do multi-channel panning through the space. So yeah, there are a bunch of ways to accomplish that. It sort of depends on what technology you're comfortable in using and stuff. But yeah, everyone kind of comes in here with whatever set of tools they're working with. It's a little more challenging to do it in Ableton unless you're gonna write your own Max for Live stuff.
Would it work with the surround cameras? I think that'd be one for it wouldn't be all the speakers, but it would be the 4 outside ones.
No, it's all of them.
Yeah, I know I want to mess around with that because there's, I think it's Isotope has one. I know Native Instruments recently acquired a couple of other companies. And there's one, I think it's called Symphony or something like that I heard about, Symphony 3D or something like that, that is a surround sound. So I'm interested in messing around with that and see if I can get it to. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you just chose 1, 4, 8, and 16, it would amp those.
Mm-hmm.
It would just leave out your speakers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, one thing I found is that don't expect these speakers to really localize things the way you think they will, because look at it, they're omnidirectional. They spray sound instead of coming down to the points, right? So you're gonna have to work on your localization, if that's really what you wanna do. But don't expect to take a stock pattern and right off the bat get the results you expect. That's highly sound dependent too.
Oh, okay, cool. If anyone has some additional questions or wants to come and take a look at some of what I have here and how I have it set up and what have you, then you can.